everyone! I didn't think I'd be making this video so soon, but I've officially done it. I went from zero Japanese to passing JLPT N1 in under 3 years, and I actually failed the first time. That failure taught me something that most people never realize. People don't fail N1 because they didn't study enough. They fail because they spent years training up the wrong skills. In this video, I'll show you exactly what skills actually mattered and what didn't. 皆さんこんにちは。今日は私が3年間弱で日本語能力試験 N1 に合格できた理由についてお話しします。勉強方法だけではなく考え方や試験への向き合い方もシェアするのでぜひ最後まで見てください。Everything I did falls into 3 categories: building ability, training it for the exam, and protecting my mindset. Whether you're preparing for N1 now or still earlier in your journey, let me walk you through each one, then I'll share the exact resources I used. I focused on building real Japanese ability first, then trained that ability specifically for the exam. Beyond N3, I progressed through N2 and N1 material almost entirely through native immersion. For N1, the main material I used is Nihongo no Mori. This covers grammar, vocabulary, reading, and full practice exams. Basically everything you could need in one place. I wanted one comprehensive resource that had everything I would need in one place, and I heard a lot of good things about this series. They also have a YouTube channel with a lot of helpful explanations as well. These are linked in the description for you to check out later. The second book I used was Shinkansen Master N1 Reading Comprehension. One gave me a solid baseline across all skills while the other targeted my weakest one. While some degree of exam-related preparation is required, I don't believe that revolving your entire studying strategy around passing the exam to be an effective use of time, especially once the exam is over and done with and you realize you haven't built many real-life language skills that you can use beyond the exam room. It's called the Nihongo Noryoku Shiken. It's an exam that purely tests your ability to understand Japanese. If you can make that the focus of your studies, passing the exam will simply be a natural side effect of utilizing the abilities you've built. For native immersion, I read a lot of Japanese books and watched Japanese shows. As you progress beyond intermediate level, so around JLPT N3 level, native content becomes comprehensible enough that you can actually learn from it. Especially for the N1, native immersion becomes so important in driving your natural progress. Immersion strengthens intuition, builds speed, and fills gaps that structured study can no longer reach. For N1 especially, reading is a huge component of the exam. If you remember one thing about N1 reading, it's that you're not being tested on purely reading comprehension. You're being tested on your decision making under time pressure. The 3 things that will matter most are time management, recognizing question patterns, and scanning for keywords. If you don't finish a section of the JLPT, you will fail the entire exam. You have 110 minutes for the first section. This includes kanji, grammar, and reading, which will take up the bulk of your time, and there isn't enough of it for you to read through and fully digest every piece of text. You don't want to get to the end of the exam and realize that you don't have enough time to go back and check your answers, panic and guess the last few questions, or worse yet, not finish the exam on time. I finished with about 10 minutes to spare. Reading was actually my weakest area prior to the exam. There are a combination of short, medium, and long texts in different formats like flyers and newspaper articles. With the time constraints, you want to get through the kanji and grammar sections as swiftly as possible to leave more time for the reading section. There won't be enough time for you to read through every single text entirely. In the JLPT, There are several very specific patterns that all the questions follow. Most of them will be asking about the writer's opinion, whether it's about the overall topic or a subtopic within the text. Not only that, when there are multiple questions for one text, the questions will be asking for things in the order that they appear in the text. So the earlier questions will be asking about earlier things, the later questions will be asking about later things, and the last question is usually about the entirety of the text. Search for keywords and synonyms. I underlined keywords in the questions and answers and then searched for them in the passage. Make as many annotations as you need to. With the time constraints, you have to get really good at skim reading to grasp the topic, tone, and purpose of the text. Especially for longer sections, I'd recommend reading the question first before going to the passage so that you'll know exactly what you're looking for. I practiced with reading Japanese books and supplemented that with JLPT reading comprehension practice questions. You want to practice with reading materials with opinions and advice embedded into them to build your tolerance for information-dense writing. I practiced with reading self-help books because I didn't really like reading, and the only way I could motivate myself to do so was by reading about something I was interested in. Another thing to focus on is logic markers, since they reveal the answer's direction. If there's one thing you take away for N1 listening, it's that it isn't just about understanding Japanese. It's about understanding what changed with the speaker's intent. In other words, what they thought they were going to do versus what they actually decided to do. If you miss that change, you'll understand every word and still choose the wrong answer. The audio for N1 contains a lot of corrections, indirect answers, and redirections. So they might say one thing and then be like, actually, something else. Another thing is, try to read ahead of the situation. So practice anticipatory listening. Instead of waiting to hear every detail, lightly predict where the conversation is heading based on context and tone. For example, if a speaker hesitates and they're like, somethingかなと思ったんですが, it'll be safe to expect a contrast or a soft disagreement. N1 questions often hinge on what the speaker intended, implied, or decided after reconsidering. They will often try to trick you by detracting from the main answer. The audio will only be played once without stops, so realistically, there isn't a lot of time to think in between questions. You have to be extremely decisive and efficient with taking memos. For the final questions, there is one long question and then a two-part question. Those are the ones where you will need to be taking efficient memos. I resorted to mostly drawing symbols or simple hiragana scribbles because there isn't any time to be doing more than that. Like for example, if one of the options was to increase the price, I'd draw a little yen symbol with an up arrow, and if another one was for, say, a beginner's Newmon book, I'd just write new and so on. You'll likely be pretty mentally exhausted towards the end of the exam, so taking effective memos will give you a point of reference instead of having to rely solely on memory. Overall, training your ear by listening to a lot of native material will help you get used to everyday speech styles at a natural speed. I watched a lot of Japanese dramas, TV shows, and anime. Unlike scripted textbook audio, these sources help you handle varied accents, rapid shifts, and natural filler words. Native material will expose you to all sorts of different situations involving hesitation, politeness levels, and subtle tone shifts. You want to get to a point where your brain can process Japanese effortlessly, so that during the exam, your focus is on extracting information rather than processing Japanese. So I took and passed N3 in about 7.5 months, and then a year later, I took my first attempt at N1. Some people might be wondering why I skipped N2 and went straight for N1, and that's because I was already around N2 before the exam, and I knew I wouldn't be in the same place by the time the exam came around. I actually ended up failing that first N1 attempt last December. That failure completely changed how I approached the exam, which I will talk about in another video. So when you're thinking about your next JLPT and thinking maybe you won't be ready, just because you don't feel ready now doesn't mean you won't become ready by then. This is why I'm always talking about aiming higher than you believe your level to be, because you're giving yourself a bigger space to grow into. If I had chosen to take N2 instead, sure, I'd be able to pass, but I wouldn't be where I am now without the extra push to go beyond that. If you're considering whether to take N1 or any other level of the JLPT, you might be wondering whether you're ready to take it now or how long you should wait before taking it. There's no one correct answer, but you should really listen to your gut on this. Readiness is something you grow into, not something you wait for. The gap between N2 and 1 is enormous, and it's often said that it takes double the amount of time it takes to get to N2 from 0 just to reach N1. Keep in mind that from the moment you decide to take JLPT, you start studying, and also when you register for the exam, if you're consistently studying, you're not going to be where you are by the time of the exam. So I'd say make a prediction for your own trajectory, plan for where you think you will be by the time the exam comes around. This doesn't just apply for N1, but for pretty much all levels. Plan ahead for your goals. As for how I studied for the exam, I spent most of my time reading books and consuming native content, and only really began exam-focused prep in the last 2 months leading up to the exam. That was when I started doing practice questions, identifying my weak areas and improving those. I did practice exams up to 2 weeks before the exam day, but no more in the final week. On the last week, you should be doing small sections and practice questions, but ideally not entire practice exams. I found that forcing myself to do practice exams right before was adding a lot of unnecessary stress to an already stressful time, and I was doing way worse in them the more I continued. So you want to protect your mindset and not potentially send yourself down a negative spiral right before the exam, because that's not going to be good for your performance. In the final week, I just focused on light reading, Anki, and watching shows I enjoyed, and just overall trying to relax as much as possible before the actual exam. You don't want to mentally exhaust or stress yourself before the exam, and definitely don't cram. By that point, you're not going to absorb much more content, so the best thing you can do is to make sure that you can think and recall information with as much clarity as possible on the day. I want to end this video by saying that I am not special. My 2.5-year journey to JLPT N1 was not made possible because I'm a language learning genius or academically gifted, but rather because of the consistent time and effort invested into learning Japanese. From the first day I started studying, I told myself I was going to become fluent no matter what, and that was what led me to this moment today. While the earlier months were a little bit more dry and grindy, that was only part of the process and just temporary. In the end, I wasn't trying to compete with someone else, I wasn't trying to beat some kind of record, I only sought out to reach my goals in my own way, on my own terms. If there's one thing I want you to take away, it's that consistent effort quietly compounds over time. In another video, I'll break down exactly why I failed N1 the first time and the mistakes I fixed to pass. Let me know down below in the comments what level you're aiming for next and whether this video helped you. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye!